Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for episode 112 of the 815 Exchange. And well, if you like football, I'm going to be honest, this is the episode for you because we are going to be talking about a lot of football. Now, we talk about a lot of football, especially during these months, especially during this season, as it is officially fall. But today especially is going to be very, very football heavy because honestly not too much happened in any, other sports or really kind of... We still got entertainment as usual. We got some stuff to talk about in baseball, big time milestones. And of course we got the Roundup, which if you want to skip to any of that, as always, and like I always say, ladies and gentlemen, the description has everything you need, everything you want, everything you are looking for can be found in the description. So timestamps are included in my social medias, as always, whether it's IG, Snap, Twitter, whatever it is, can be found in the description. And as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. Now, like I said, it's a lot of football this week, so let's not waste any more time. Quick intro. We're gonna be efficient today, all right? College football, and we're gonna kick it off naturally with my dear Charlotte 49ers. Now, we scurried on over to Columbia, South Carolina to take on SCAR, as I call them. I don't call them USC because there's only one USC, and of course we will talk about what that team got up to on the West Coast a little bit later in this segment. But SCAR, the University of South Carolina, took on the Charlotte 49ers this past week. We went over to Columbia, like I said, and they put it on us, as expected. I mean, no surprises here. They won 56-20. Marshawn Lloyd had a career day. It looked like he was back at DeMatha Catholic. Man had 169 and 3 touchdowns. And it felt like he had more than that. It was honestly, I was okay because we were competitive somehow, some way in that first half, but then just all hell broke loose in the second half, and we reverted back to who we are. No defense. And when the defense is just as bad, bad, then the offense stalls out and it's over, right? It's a wrap. That's all she wrote. But yeah, South Carolina handles us. No surprises. They did what they were supposed to do. And honestly, we did way better than I expected. I thought we were about to make Spencer Rattler look like a first rounder again, and we didn't even do that. So you know what? I'll take it. All right? I'll take it. It was a competitive first half. Got out of control in the second half. Shout out to Lloyd because he had a big, big day. Now, moving on to the national schedule, let's talk about, there's a couple options for Game of the Week. There are a couple of options for Game of the Week, to be completely honest. But this possibly might be the one. And shout out to my father, because he was actually at this game. I might pop up a picture, over to the left, one of his shots from the field. But Clemson and Wake Forest. Game day at Wake. Yeah, game day at Wake. Game day was not at Wake Forest. Where was game day this week? Oh yeah, Tennessee, Florida. We'll talk about that later. But game day is at Clemson next week. That's what I was thinking about. Anyways, Wake Forest and Clemson. The two best teams in the ACC, especially since Miami is Miami. But yes, the Demon Deacons and the Tigers took off. And it was a hell of a game. A hell of a game. It was the week of quarterback duels. It was honestly the week of quarterback duels in college football, and we kicked it off with a very, very, very strong entry. DJU, Big Cinco. We've talked a lot about DJ and his struggles, especially last year, and whether he was going to make that jump. Could he make that development jump that he was not able to make last year after all the hype of him coming out of St. John's Bosco, after him filling in for Trevor Lawrence in his freshman year? There was a lot of hype. DJ, if you think about DJ, he was supposed to be in that Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. He was the number one quarterback in that class, or number two, depending on which ranking you looked at, behind or right beside Bryce. And then a little bit further down with CJ. He's supposed to be in that mix, but he has not played up to that level. Some of that, out of his control due to Clemson's offensive line struggles previously to this year. But nonetheless, DJ just hasn't been that guy. He was that guy in this game. Clemson was able to get out a fantastic nail-biting win, 51-45 in OT, I believe. DJU had 423 and 5 touchdowns. That's 420 yards total and 5 touchdowns. Will Shipley has that dog in him. All right, he has that dog in him. He is a dog. If he played I mean, he's a sleeper pick for one of the best running backs in the country, I dare say. A sleeper pick. I know a lot of people probably wouldn't rate him that highly because he hasn't had that big, massive game, or he doesn't have the big, massive name, even though he plays for Clemson. But Will Shipley, rest assured, is one of the best running backs in the country. 104 and a touchdown for Will in this game. On the Wake Forest side, Sam Hartman was fantastic. Tied, or actually broke the Wake Forest passing touchdown record in this game. 20 for 29, 37, and 6 touchdowns. Jamal Banks has 6 receptions, 141 and 2 touchdowns. It was an incredible back and forth game, twist and turn, especially in that fourth quarter. It was just one of the best games I think we might end up seeing all year, in my opinion. A very, very fun one to watch and keep track of, and a hell of a game if you went to it in Wake Forest in Winston-Salem. The atmosphere was crazy, so yeah, shout out to Wake Forest for showing up. Strong effort. No real shame in losing this one. Of course, you want the defense to be a lot better, but man, Sam Hartman is the truth. But DJU, looking like things may be turning up. We'll see if Clemson can fix that defense because, my goodness, the secondary was getting shredded. But, I mean, that goes for both teams. But for now, the ACC's playoff contention and playoff chances stay alive. Baylor and Iowa State. Another great game. Another one that kind of went down to the wire. Went a little bit closer than a lot of people expected. Baylor got the win 31-24. Shapen. He's been, I mean, I'm not going to say he's been terrific this year, but he's been solid. He's been solid, and I think that's what Baylor was looking for out of him. They wanted that stability, and he's been able to provide that quarterback stability that a lot of teams in that kind of transfer period between, star quarterbacks, sometimes it's a little shaky. Shapen has been solid so far. He went 18 for 26, had 3 touchdowns in this game. Strong game for Shapen, and Baylor was able to squeak out a win versus Iowa State. Hendon Hooker. All right, Hendon is him. 38-33, Tennessee beats Florida. Hendon goes 22 for 28, 461 and 3 touchdowns. Now, this was another great quarterback duel. Alongside DJU and Hartman, Hooker versus AR-15 or AR-not-15 was absolutely fantastic. It was a great game. Great game offensively. If you're a defensive fan, it had its moments, but for a lot of it, you were probably trying to look away if you were a fan of both teams because it was probably incredibly stressful, I would imagine, especially when Florida somehow, some way got that onside kick near the end of the fourth. But again, Tennessee gets lucky, is able to finally show up defensively and make sure that Florida does not get in the box to win the game. And Tennessee is finally top 10. Again, a lot of it due to Hendon's 461 and 3. AR not 15, 515 total and 4 touchdowns. Monster game for Anthony Richardson. He gets back on track after his struggles last week. Justin Shorter, 7 receptions, 155. Persall, 5 receptions, 103 and a touchdown. Both of those for Florida. Wide receiver core showed out, like I said. Tennessee secondary was looking like the Charlotte secondary. But on the Tennessee side, former USC Trojan Brew McCoy, 5 receptions, 102 and a touchdown, and probably the best game of Brew's career so far in his college career, at least because he was a monster of modern day. But nonetheless, Hendon Hooker's rise to the top of draft boards continues, and his rise up the top of Heisman leaderboards continues to go up. But yeah, you love to see it. 336 native. Friend of the family, friend of the show. Hendon Hooker getting it done for Tennessee, and Tennessee continues to build momentum. We'll see how much they can do in this SEC. Texas Tech, in the final game Texas Tech and Texas will ever play, it seems, at least for now, in Lubbock, which makes it all that much sweeter when Texas Tech gets to win 37-34 in OT. The unbelievable happened. All right, Bijan Robinson was Bijan Robinson for the most part in this game. Man had 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bijan was Bijan. But unbelievably so, in true Texas form, Bijan Robinson fumbles the game away to Texas Tech. I mean, you can't write it. You cannot write Texas's Wolves. You just cannot. Smith for Texas Tech quarterback, 331 and 2 touchdowns. He was fantastic. But you cannot write the things that happen to Texas. You can't. You can't. It's incredible how they find new ways to lose. It's incredible how Sark finds new ways to blow leads. Now you could say they don't have Quinn Ewers, who apparently is going to be back sooner than later, and that's a big part of this team. It is. But this is a game you gotta win. This is a game you should expect to win. Just off of how you played, that this was such a winnable game for Texas, and they just could not make the most of the opportunities. And then your superstar running back, best running back in college football, fumbles. The one time he fumbles, probably the first fumble I remember Bijan Robinson having in forever. He fumbles, you blow it. You blew it. Texas blew it. There's no other way to put it. Sark's down on the hot seat, but man, oh man, it's not looking good for the Longhorns. What looked like it might be a solid season is just, it's not been the same. It's not been the same. Another team that is just not the same and is struggling with being back is Miami. Mario Cristobal is a great recruiter, apparently a terrible head coach. Middle Tennessee State. This game was not as close as the score says. 45-31, Middle Tennessee State. MTSU pulls off the upset against the U at Hard Rock Stadium, which got a much better reception the day after. But Middle Tennessee gets the win. Cunningham, quarterback, 408 and 3 touchdowns, which was much better than anything Tyler Van Dyke. I'm not even going to read TVD's stat line because you don't want to hear it. Jay Garcia ended up replacing him and played much better and got them to 31 points. But this game was not that close. They evaporated them. MTSU evaporated Miami. This game was not close. It wasn't. It was a beatdown from the onset. You would have thought Middle Tennessee State was the ranked team going against the non-Power 5 team if you didn't know anything about college football. It was a beat down, an embarrassing loss for Miami, and it's not good. It's not good. It's a lot of questions being raised right now about Cristobal. Can recruit. We'll give him that, but my goodness, the on-field product just has not been there for Miami, and a lot of questions are now being raised about, especially after this game. That seat got a little bit warmer. The problem is they can't fire him because that buyout is too much. So we'll see if he can get it together. But man, it's scary hours in Miami right now after a game like that. Oregon snatches victory from the jaws of defeat as Washington State chokes and Oregon wins 44-41. Washington State was up by 2 possessions with less than 3 minutes to go in this game, and they folded like a lawn chair, as they say. Bo Nix was having fun, 428 and 3 touchdowns. By the way, Oregon is the only offensive line to not give up a sack this year, so credit to Oregon. Troy Franklin, 5 receptions, 137 and a touchdown. He was uncoverable in this game. Washington State folded. Straight up, no ifs, ands, or buts. Nothing about it. Nothing about it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They folded. They folded. Straight up folded. The defense folded. The offense folded at the end. It was a game. You had this game. You had this game. And just could not finish. Could not finish. I'm sure Coach 30 on TikTok has a great video to make about this game, if he chooses to make one. And about how Washington State, how the Cougars could not finish, which is a hell of a statement. But Oregon sneaks out of Wazoo with the win, and a win that they probably should have had. But you know what? They earned it. They studied and they fought. And you know what? It's good if Oregon is good. It's good for the Pac-12. So you know what? I'll allow it. But boy, WSU, you should have had that win. Texas A&M takes out Arkansas 23-21 off of one of the most insane plays to end the game. But before I talk about that, KJ Jefferson balled out 276 and 3 touchdowns. A cane for Texas A&M, 159 and a touchdown. So the stars showed up for both teams. The best offensive weapons, they showed up. And Arkansas jumped on Texas A&M. It looked like this game was going to be a blowout. It was 14-0 at one point in time. And I was like, okay, yeah, let me turn away and look at some other games. Because this one is looking like Texas A&M is about to get butchered at AT&T Stadium. But that was not to be. Arkansas fumbled and then just lost all train of thought of how to play football. And it got ugly. And Texas A&M came all the way back. But nonetheless, Arkansas put themselves in a position to win the game. Cam Little does not miss, or does he? He hits the top of the upright, and I'm not sure if I've ever seen anybody in a game hit the top of the upright and miss. Hit the top of the upright, not like the top on the side. He hit the top of the upright, bounces off, he misses. Just an absolutely insane play to end what ended up being a pretty insane game. And Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher sneak out of AT&T Stadium with the win. Arkansas, just pain. Just pain. There's no other way to put that. Just the no good, very bad game. Just the no good. Finally, you were about to beat Texas A&M, and then it just wasn't to be. Just wasn't to be. Sorry about it. It just wasn't to be. Kansas State takes out Oklahoma, or upsets Oklahoma, should I say. K-State just seems to be the bane of Oklahoma's existence, but nonetheless, K-State 41-34. Adrian Martinez legacy game, boys. 380 and 5 touchdowns, 4 of those on the ground for Adrian Martinez. He looked like the second coming. He looked like Heisman, dark horse Heisman candidate Adrian Martinez from all those years ago in Nebraska. He looked like the Adrian Martinez that we were supposed to see. All right? He looked like him. He was absolutely him in this game. Himmy Turner, whatever you want to say, he was that guy. Eric Gray was 1 for 114 on the ground. DG had 330 and 4 touchdowns. But Oklahoma just couldn't. I mean, K-State jumped on him. Deuce Vaughn was electrifying as always. And the defense didn't show up. The offense waited till too late. And Kansas State they were not going to pull a Washington State. They were going to finish this game. And once again, Kansas State in the last game that they will play against Oklahoma, get the win at Oklahoma as well, I believe. So, just to make that a little bit sweeter. Adrian Martinez, though, legacy game for him. I mean, just one of the best performances of his career. The Hateful Eight, good. Now, let's talk about them Trojans, all right? Because I was in pain. I absolutely, nothing against Oregon State, and actually nothing against the city of Corvallis and against that stadium, nothing against Beaver Stadium. Beaver fans, you're great. Oregon State even has a good team, I dare say. But boy, oh boy, I am not going to miss playing in Corvallis. That place is cursed. It is cursed. USC, for some reason, just cannot win in Corvallis. Unfortunately, or should I say fortunately for USC, we have some 6'6" man-child linebacker named Eric Gentry, and boy oh boy did he save us in this game. He was wreaking havoc, and honestly, after everything everybody says about us, everything everybody says about Lincoln Riley and this defense, how about this now? Alright, because they won us this game. 4 interceptions, you can't say it's just coincidence at this point. We have the best turnover-making defense in the country. Everybody told me Alex Grinch was trash. I'm not seeing it right now. Sure, it's not the best defense, but by and by, do they just show up? They show up in big moments, and that's all I can really ask for right now because we are playing with house money for this first season. Caleb Williams played the worst game I've ever seen Caleb Williams play. Okay, I don't know if it was Corvallis or what it was, but Superman had found his kryptonite, and he was just off. He was off all game. It was the worst Caleb Williams performance I've seen ever, even in high school. It was the worst Caleb performance I've ever seen. But he was able to find Jordan Addison to put us ahead with just over a minute to go to win the game. Addison didn't even have his best game. Some of that not his fault, most of that on Caleb. But the Biletnikoff winner last year got it done when it mattered. Gentry, like I said, was a monster. Oh my gosh, man, I love Die. 133 and a touchdown for him. They carried us, all right? USC struggled, but we found some way somehow to win this game. Please let us never, ever play another game in Corvallis. And to quickly end this college football segment before I run out of time here, Ohio State wins 52-21 over Wisconsin. Stroud had 5 touchdowns, and it wasn't even his best game. Emeka Cade Stover played an amazing game. The running backs both went over 100 yards. Braylon Allen had over 100 yards. It was, on a box score basis, not a bad game, but Ohio State dominated Wisconsin. They're just not on that level. And Stephen F. Austin, 98-0 against Warner. Absolutely insane. And they went for 2 for 100. That's so disrespectful. Wouldn't happen to me personally, but that was college football. Now, a swing of the bat, and Albert Pujols hit 700 as we're going over to the MLB section. And we're going to talk about the machine, all right? Because it's time to celebrate. There were 2 major home run milestones that could have possibly happened this week. One didn't happen, closer to home. The other did happen. And I don't know what is up with Albert this year, but I don't know what's up. How many times have we covered him over the stretch of this like past 2 months? And it's been because he's hit a 2 home run game and is inch closer to 700. Well, he did it. All right, he finally did it. Hits a 2 home run game. Hit 699. Then in the fourth inning, he hit 700. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, in Los Angeles, by the way, facing the Dodgers, Albert Pujols joins the 700 club. Of course, pretty much cements himself as one of the greatest hitters of all time, even though before, whether he got 700 or not, he would have gone down as one of the greatest hitters of all time, and certainly probably, I would dare say, the best hitter of the 21st century. You could dare say, counting that Bonds was on steroids for the 21st century and played most of his, some of his best days in the 90s. But, yeah, the machine, I mean, what is there to say? First ballot Hall of Famer, no questions asked, one of the greatest players of his generation, certainly one of the best hitters, like I said, and hitting and entering the 700 club. Huge honor. I know he's only like 5, might be less now, 5 RBIs away from passing Babe Ruth on the RBIs list. But yeah, Albert Pujols, what a year. What a year. It's been the ideal, perfect final year for Albert in terms of, the All-Star. And honestly, him just playing solid back home in St. Louis. So it's just like a full circle. It feels like a full circle. It's one of the feel-good stories, I think, in sports this year. Just kind of Albert Pujols and how his last year has gone down. But yeah, huge honor, massive deal, 700 club. Congrats to the machine. Aaron Judge hit number 60. However, and I knew this was going to happen. I'm more worried about the Triple Crown, which he got back control of last night. But and so now he's leading still all Triple Crown categories for another week. But I knew as soon as he got to 60, and then now ESPN, which a lot of college football, which honestly I get it, y'all don't follow baseball. If we want to watch baseball, we'd watch baseball. Well, they somehow the rights put it on Apple Plus, which is a streaming service. Alright, so this is a big deal. This is the MLB record for home runs. They're gonna promote it. Alright, they're gonna promote it. If it was a big college football achievement potentially happened and during like an MLB game that was like super duper historic, like when Judge is chasing, then I wouldn't have any problem. But I get why you're frustrated. But listen, I knew as soon as they started hyping up, when is it gonna happen? When is it gonna happen? He was going to hit a rut and not be able to hit a home run. I knew it was gonna happen, and it's happened. So yeah, I just hope he gets it over with and gets 61 and gets 62, and we can just so we can get back into the groove. I honestly care more about the Triple Crown than the record right now because I want him to get that MVP, and I know Shohei's having a phenomenal season, so him getting that Triple Crown will be the gem in his crown to make sure that he finally gets that MVP, because it'd be hard to argue against the man that won the Triple Crown with 60 homers. So yeah, Judge in 60, not 61 yet, but yeah, it's likely, I guess you would say, that we'll be talking about 61 next episode, or he'll probably hit it tonight just to spite me. But yeah, Judge, not 60 yet. Albert, in that, did hit 700. So yeah, milestones happening in the MLB. Now, entertainment. You know what we're talking about. We're talking about House of the Dragon. It is the best show on television, like I say every week. Where do we even start? We have the time jump this week, and my God. All right. I have I didn't even really change my notes because I got back late last night after I watched it. But yeah, let's start. Let's just go down the line here. All right, Kristen Cole, I want to know what happened. Because there's no way that, after, everything that happened there, I want to know how their relationship continued to spiral and get more spiteful. If Rhaenyra is all that you guys say she is, right? Surely she would have tried to, fix that relationship somehow, right? So did that never happen? They just go their own ways and they're now bitter to each other? What happened? But anyways, Kristen, he's still around. Honestly, listen, he was somewhat neglecting the strong boys, but as I'm going to call them, but it wasn't that bad. His biggest transgression was letting Aegon beat the brakes off of Jace. Also, one thing they did change from the books, by the way, is that actually Harmon does not beat up Kristen. Kristen actually beats the out of Harmon. He beats the out of leading Harwin to get a, play on his nickname, Break Bones, to being called Broken Bones because Kristen breaks his bones. But in the show, they have Harwin beat up Kristen. It's fine anyways. Kristen outsmarts. As much as we say Kristen is dumb, outsmarts Harwin there and gets him kicked off because he's, got him charged up and Harwin reacted and basically admitted to being, the bastard father, the father of the strong bastards, or however you want to phrase that. But Kristen, somewhat of a masterclass, but he is still spiteful, acting a little incelish if I say so myself. Rhaenyra. One of the great things about all of these characters is that, actually Larry's is probably all evil. Well, most of them are not all evil. There's a lot of people that stay in kind of that morally gray. There's a lot of complex characters, even if you don't want to say it's gray, and some of them are just evil. There's a lot of complexity to these characters. Rhaenyra is prideful, and that is her negative quality. In some ways, that's a great thing because she's proud of who she is. She's proud of her heritage. She's strong-willed in herself. However, her pride makes her do dumb stuff, like even though Alyssum was trying to spite her for asking for that baby. By the way, I feel so bad for any pregnant woman around the world watching the show. I promise you pregnancy is not as bad, not that I haven't experienced, but from what I hear, pregnancy is not as bad as it's being depicted on the show. It just didn't have the, miracles of modern medicine. However, like I was saying, Rhaenyra's pride is her issue, right? She did not have to go with the child all the way up to Alyssum. That's not what Alyssum was asking, but her pride took her there. And just Rhaenyra, she's too proud. She's too proud, and it makes her a bit of a hypocrite because she likes to play off her lust and desire for power and to prove everybody wrong that she can be this great queen. And she goes the extra mile in areas where she doesn't need to go the extra mile, and you can see kind of the anger and it's off-putting. It's off-putting. But Rhaenyra also is a great mother. She loves her children, but she's an idiot. Alright, she's an idiot. I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm gonna be blunt when I say this. She's an idiot. I don't know. Her and Laena are idiots. There is no way in hell you thought, listen, Laena is black. Both of y'all are Valyrian, right? It's not that the kids can't come up with brown hair. It is the fact that they can't come up with brown hair because both of you are Valyrian with silver hair. So how did they have brown hair? And how do all three of them have brown hair? And how do all three of them look nothing like? Nothing like Nana. And y'all thought that was just going to be sweet, others just going to pass it off. I get why Alyssum's mad, because you were just running around doing what you want, and because you're the princess, you think it's just going to be all fine because you're the heir. You are moving reckless. That is Rhaenyra's problem. She's prideful and she is reckless. And that's her issue. However, Rhaenyra, showed strong-willed, but again, that's also a gift and a curse for her. Daemon and Laena were great to see in their happier moments, like when they were riding. Vhagar is massive. Seeing him with the kids, even though he's neglecting one of them because they're not a dragon rider, but really seeing Laena with the kids. Laena was great. The actress, by the way, is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And she went out like a G. Alright, stillborn child wasn't coming out. She was in an immense amount of pain, was possibly going to die, and she said Dracarys to, Vhagar, who, by the way, I love the personality. Once again, they're Game of the Dragons in this series. Hesitates, but listens to her rider and does the deed. Unfortunately, Daemon had to see that, and now Daemon has to be a single father. We'll see how that goes. All right, we'll see how that goes and see how Daemon fares as a single father. And I'm assuming he's going to be coming home very, very, very soon. Alicent is paranoid. Oh my goodness, the paranoia is out of control. Otto has sown the seeds perfectly. And she, once again, feels like she has no allies, so she finds solace in Larys or in Kristen. But she's also passing down and basically doing what Otto did to her, she's doing to Aegon. She's instilling those fears into Aegon, those fears, that paranoia that was instilled into her. So it's just kind of funny to see how that ends up getting passed down, even though Alyssum at the end did not want for Larys to do what he did, but nonetheless, he did it. And let's talk about Larys Strong, alright? I'm convinced that he is either a skin changer or a green seer. He has to be in those rats. There is absolutely no way he is not. I mean, there is a way, but I'm believing that theory because my goodness, y'all thought Littlefinger was a menace, and Littlefinger was a menace. Y'all thought Varys was a menace, Varys was a menace. But my goodness, this might be the biggest menace we've seen so far in terms of scheming. It is a different. He has to be a different breed. You have to be a different breed of monster, of menace, to take out your own father and brother. That is crazy. That is crazy. That is beyond me. Burns down Harrenhal, takes out Harwin, which a lot of people were distraught about, by the way. And Lionel Strong, which is what I was more distraught about. You know, even though Bray Bones was a cool dude, but nonetheless, Lares is a savage. All right, he is an absolute savage. Just different. All right, that's different. I mean, caught a body, and it was genius. It was a genius play. He becomes the Lord of Harrenhal and can now support Alyssa. He now implicates Alyssa because the Hand of the King position is now open. She's going to call Otto. Otto's going to come back. And now she's complicit in the tragedy, right? Because she had something to gain for it. So now he has her favor. It was a brilliant move by Larry's, and you know, he's on top. The kids, the strong boys were fine. Besides the bullying of Aemon, they made Aemon very, very sympathetic. Helena foreshadowed something, which I'm not going to say, but if you look around, you'll know what she said. Aegon is a little, yeah, he's exactly as I expected Aegon to be. Though I did not expect him to be pulling a Homelander / Roman Roy, that was different. But yeah, Aegon is Aegon. Jace, he knows. That was the thing that got me. That Jace knows that he's a bastard. So that's going to be very, very interesting. And then Rhaenyra, once again, is an idiot. She's you know, you want to root for her, but she's just an idiot. She's just an idiot. She's truly, but I don't know how Viserys is alive, by the way. I shout out to the makeup department because he looks worse and worse and more like a corpse every episode. But Rhaenyra, that is not the answer. You're a Targaryen. So I am a bastard, but I'm a Targaryen. I'm a Targaryen bastard. Thanks, Mom. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Just a disaster cast from Rhaenyra. The strong boys were fine though. Egg is a menace. Helena's a great. Rhaella and Baela were fine. So yeah, it's interesting to see the kids, and we get to see them grow as they are going to be very, 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 very major players in season 2 and for the rest of the show. But yeah, House of Dragon, best show on telly. One more to say. The other, you know, show about an aging, dying king and his progeny trying to take over on HBO is the other show I'm watching right now, and that's Succession. Just finished season 1. I understand the hype. I am hooked. I cannot stop watching that show. In music, Stormzy returned with a 7-minute song, which was fire. Straight bars. Mel Made Me Do It was great. Had a bunch of cameos in the music video. I won't list them all out, but of course we had Dave, and the big one, of course, was Jose Marino. He actually sampled Jose's If I Speak, I Am in Trouble. So yeah, that was real cool. Stormzy's back. It was a fantastic track. If you haven't listened to it, Mel Made Me Do It. Fantastic song. It's 7 minutes, but you know what? Watch the music video. It's worth it. Now for the NFL. Yes, the National Football League. Another week, another day in the life. The Cleveland Browns take out the Pittsburgh Steelers 29-17. Chubb probably played one of his. I mean, actually, Chubb's been solid this year. I won't say that, but again, I mean, it's only week 3, so it's not like he had really anything to fall off from. But yeah, Chubb, great game. 113 and a touchdown. Amari Cooper showed up. George Pickens caught some insane. I do not know how he. You know what? I do. Because he's been doing this for a while. He was doing this back at Hoover High School back in Alabama. So I'm actually not surprised. George Pickens is going to be a star in this league as long as he keeps his head on straight. But yeah, the Browns take care of the Steelers 29-17 thanks to Chubb and Cooper. The Bears. Oh, the Bears. Bad for my fantasy team this game was because David Montgomery got hurt early and the result got me a total of 1 point. So I lost this week in both fantasy leagues. Thank you, injury gods. But the Bears got the win 23-20, and it was not due to Justin Fields. Dear God. 8 for 17, 106, 2 interceptions. Now we just need to talk about it. I'm not going to call him a bust yet, but boy, oh boy, is he leaning on that spectrum. He is leaning very hard on that spectrum. It's not easy, of course. He's a young quarterback on a not great team with a bunch of not great weapons, but Fields has just not been good. He's just not been good. I can't hide it. I can't sugarcoat it. As much as I like Justin Fields, he has just not been that guy. He has not been what we was expected. He's not been what I've expected. It's just, he's regressed almost this year, so it's been real ugly. We'll see if he can get it together. But they were able to win thanks to Khalil Herbert going for 157 and 2 touchdowns in Monty's absence. So, yeah, Bears managed to find a way to get a win against the Texans, but it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty. Cairo Santos hits the game winner. But, yeah, you'll take it. But, boy, oh, boy, there are questions to be asked about that 2-1 Chicago Bears team. The Titans beat the Raiders 24-22. Raiders tried to make something happen in the fourth quarter, but it was too little too late. Derrick Henry had 85 yards and a touchdown. Tannehill wasn't great. Carr had a better game than he's had in previous weeks. 303, 2 touchdowns. Mac Hollins had the game of his life, 8 receptions, 158 and a touchdown. But like I said, just wasn't enough. Too much, too late. Titans were able to get the win, 24-22. The Colts and the Chiefs. Now, for a lot of people, the two top teams in the NFL for power rankings were the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. They both lost this week. But first, we're going to talk about the Chiefs' loss. They just never got it going. Simply put, they never got it going. It wasn't even a bad defensive performance from the Chiefs. They just never were able to get it going. And then an opportunistic pick at the end seals it for the Colts, who are now a perfect 1-1-1. The Colts fall to 2-1. Jelani Woods with 24 seconds to go gets it from Matty Ice, who lived up to his nickname in this game. Matt Ryan, by the way, goes 27 for 37, 222 and 2 touchdowns, and outplays Patrick Mahomes. So, yeah, shout out to Matty Ice for getting it done. Michael Pittman Jr. returns for 8 receptions and 72 yards. But, yeah, the Colts defense stepped up massively in this game, shut down the Chiefs, gave them all kinds of fits. And for the first time this year, Kansas City looks mortal, Mahomes looks mortal, and it's a big, big needed win for Indianapolis as they try to get, try to right the ship. Huge win to build momentum here. Now, for the other top team and for the team many people had as the Super Bowl favorites, they lost, giving birth to maybe a new contender, and that is the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins get the win 21-19. Ken Dorsey was furious. Tua was concussed and then somehow came back. They said it was his back, whatever. Tua toughed it out, led yet another comeback, and what do you know? The Dolphins win, even though they had to make it as dramatic as possible because they had we had the butt fumble, right? Now we have the butt punt for a safety. I just one of the two great comedic moments this week in the league. But the Dolphins were able to hold on. The Bills ran out of time. Josh Allen threw the ball 63 times, 400 yards and 2 touchdowns for him, 47 yards rushing as well. Tua, 13 for 18, 186 and a touchdown, even though he had to leave. Chase Edmonds got in the box twice. Jalen Waddle was explosive as ever, even though Cheetah was non-existent. But most importantly, like I said, the Dolphins get it done. And honestly, have looked like one of the best teams in the league so far. Straight up, 3-0, just beat the Bills, a huge divisional opponent. This was a massive, massive game. And they went out and they beat them. And it wasn't like a controversial. No, they straight up went out and they beat the Bills. So, yeah, a statement win from Tua, a statement win for the Miami Dolphins. We'll see, what the deal is. Of course, the NFLPA is investigating that whole concussion situation and him being out. But nonetheless, the Dolphins get the win. Huge, huge win as well. The Lions and the Vikings. The Lions are tough, man. The Lions are tough. That's all I'm gonna say. They are the best 1-2 team I think in the league. If I had to pick one, they're gonna play everybody tough. They're going to play everybody tough this year. Vikings get it done though, 28-24. Kirk Cousins, 262 touchdowns. You just knew. All right, you just knew Detroit had the lead, but Kirk Cousins, for some reason, has the clutch gene, and he leads them down the field 45 seconds to go, he finds KJ Osborne, 28-yarder, and that's all she wrote. The Vikings get the win. A lot of late wins and a lot of great games this week in the NFL. Another great week, honestly, in terms of game quality. So yeah, shout out to the NFL for that. But yeah, Kirk Cousins does it again. KJ Osborne also had 5 receptions, 73 yards to go along with the go-ahead. And yeah, the Vikings get it done. Though the Lions, like I said, they're going to play everybody tough. The New England Patriots took the L to the Baltimore Ravens. And listen, Ravens, y'all gonna end up like the Yankees, man. Y'all gonna end up like the Yankees. Lamar Jackson is having a very Aaron Judge-esque season. As Lamar goes for 5 touchdowns yet again. He scored at least 4 touchdowns all 3 weeks this season. He goes for 325 total yards in this game. 5 touchdowns. Mac Jones is injured on the last play for the Patriots. By the way, Mac Jones also is not him. He is not him. The whole draft class that we said was generational last year, they didn't show up this week. It's not been great, except for one guy, and we'll talk about him because he's been fantastic. And he was the number 1 overall pick. But everybody else, Mac Jones, everybody singing his praises, he was garbage. All right, Mac Jones, just let's be honest, has been garbage this year. The same way I'm going to slander Justin Fields, I am going to slander Mac Jones. He has been playing just as good as his gritty, which is terrible. It's terrible. So anyways, Mac loses the plot, 3 picks. He gets injured at the end of the game. Mandrews and Lamar continue to be the great connection. 8 receptions, 89 yards, and 2 touchdowns for him. But yeah, Lamar is Lamar. I don't know why we're still having discussions on whether he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. It's no debate. The Ravens, you should have paid him. The Bengals get the win over the Jets, 27-12. The Bengals finally get a win. Joe Burrow finally looks like Joe Burrow. 275 and 3 touchdowns. T. Higgins caught a madness. Looked like he was in a video game. Jamar Chase and Sauce Gardner went at it to show respect after the game. Sauce, honestly, besides the Higgins route, has been a very, very good rookie this year as well, living up to the hype. Flacco looked like Flacco once again, 2 picks in this game, so he regressed back to the mean, and Joe Burrow regressed back up to his mean, and the Bengals get the win, their first win of the season. The Eagles. As much as this pains me to say, the Eagles might actually be good this year. They are 3-0. They beat the Commanders 24-8. Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate so far this season. 22 for 35, 340, and 3 touchdowns. We knew Hurts could run, but his throwing has gotten so much. The balls he has thrown this year have been so much better. And Devontae Smith had the best game of his career. 8 receptions, 169 and a touchdown. He was absolutely uncomfortable, especially in that first half. That insane catch late. Terry McLaurin finally showed up. Scary Terry, welcome back. 100 yards this week. But it wasn't enough. That Philly defense showed up big time. They looked a lot better than expected. Jalen Hurts has made that jump. The Eagles are looking spooky. As much as I hate to say it as a Cowboys fan, the Eagles are in fact looking spooky. The Panthers get the first win of the season because Jameis Winston is Jameis Winston. Now Baker Mayfield might not be much better, but he's better than Jameis Winston. Typical Jameis stat line, 300 yards, but he's going to throw it 2 picks. Chris Olave, however, had a great game for the Saints, 9 receptions, 147, but it wasn't to be. Just rough. It's just rough. It's going to be a long season for both of these 2 teams, and that's all I really got to say about that. The Jaguars. Oh boy. Sunshine has arrived, and it is a happy day in Jacksonville. Doug Peterson is a savant, it appears, and Urban Meyer is a football terrorist. The Jaguars get the win 38-10 over the Chargers. Maybe last week was not a fluke. Maybe it wasn't. The Jaguars, dominated. A team that a lot of people rate very highly in the Chargers, who are now 1-2, by the way. And the Jaguars dominated. They dominated this game. Trevor Lawrence plays the best game of his career, 28 for 39, 262, and 3 touchdowns. His first road win of his career. Did it in the same amount of games as Peyton Manning. Listen, J-Rob, a lot of people worry about the Achilles. No worries here. 17 carries, 100 yards, and a touchdown. Zay Jones goes 10 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown himself. That defense was causing problems for Herbert, who, by the way, was injured. heading into this game with broken ribs. A lot of people questioning whether he was going to play. Well, he did play, and he didn't really make too much of a difference because, once again, like I said, the Jaguars are playing out of their mind. Playing much better than expected. Trevor Lawrence looking like the number 1 overall pick, looking like the quarterback he was hyped to be. And once again, like I said, Urban Meyer, you are a football terrorist. It is a damn shame what you did with that team. The Rams beat the Cardinals 20-12. The Cardinals are just, this is all blowing up in smoke. It was a hell of a game if you were a field goal kicker. I mean, Matt Prater hit 4 of them. Matt Gay hit a couple as well. But this was not that interesting of a game, to be completely honest with you. Kind of due for a bunch of yards, but there was really nothing there. And the Cardinals, I think that window was closing very, 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 very much sooner than they expected, but very, very soon in terms of their quality as a team. The Rams get the win. The Falcons knock off the Seahawks because the Seahawks were a fluke as expected. A lot of people bought into that Geno Smith hype, and listen, he was solid this week, 325 and 2 touchdowns, but he's simply not that guy. Marcus Mariota honestly hasn't been bad, but Cordell Patterson, like he did last year, was the star of the game for the Falcons. 141 and a touchdown for Cordell, who I don't know, just went from, he's an all-time great kick returner, was not that great of a receiver, honestly, in the league, but decided to become one of the best running backs in the league as soon as he turned 30. I don't know how that worked, but it worked out for Cordell, so shout out to him. And the Falcons get the win this week, 27-23. In one of the ugliest games, and it's unbelievable considering the 2 quarterbacks, but maybe it was expected considering how depleted these teams are. The Packers go on the road and beat Tampa Bay 14-12. I don't know what to think about either of these two. Rodgers and Brady are now finally showing their age. Brady went 271 and a touchdown. A-Rod went 255 and 2 touchdowns. But this game was ugly. All right, straight up, this was an ugly game. The defenses were great. The offenses were about as good as they've been all season, which is not great, even though they're missing some key weapons. It was a rough game. All right, it was a rough game. There were a lot of great games this week. This was not one of them. And to end off, the Broncos. We hit it with some rough offensive games. I'm not gonna lie. The Broncos went 11-10. Russell looked better. He looked like old Russell, like running Russell. And for whatever reason, that worked out. All right, that worked out for the Broncos. And Nathaniel Hackett finally. Actually, they're 2-1, but he looked mostly not mediocre this week, even though he wasn't great as a head coach, but slightly better. Once again, just a disgusting, filthy, awful excuse. A very Iowa Hawkeye football game this was, and that's the best thing I can say about it. 49ers, you're just going to want to erase this one from your memory. And yeah, Melvin Gordon, go ahead, touchdown. And yeah, this was an ugly game. And we'll have a solid week 3 in the NFL. Now, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the Roundup, and that means we have to get sad because Roger Federer is officially retired. The Laver Cup was this past weekend. Of course, they played doubles versus Big Foe and Jack Sock, who, by the way, is one of the best doubles players on the planet. And it was a good match to end on, like Roger said. But yeah, unfortunately, him and Rafa teaming up weren't able to get it done. But my oh god. After that match was just a legendary sequence. Besides the Elle Goulding, which is kind of out of pocket. Nothing against Elle Goulding, she's fine. But yeah, the emotion from Rafa and Roger, and it's just crazy. You don't ever really see that in sports. 2 rivals, and you see one leaving the game and see that get that emotional. It's a testament to their friendship, as well as their rivalry, and just kind of all the legendary moments they've had together. So yeah, Roger and Rafa. Roger had everybody crying. Mirka, his family, Roger, Novak, Andy, people on Team USA, and just Team World. Just everybody was emotional. Like I said, Roger Federer had me crying a little bit. My favorite tennis player of all time, for most of you that know that. 20 majors, first man in 20, numerous records, one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time. I would just say one of the greatest because, the big 3, but it was sweet to see the big 4, including Andy, kind of all together one last time for Roger's last match. Of course, he pulled out that shot through the net, one last flip of Federer magic before he left off. But yeah, Roger, thank you for everything. Thanks for all the memories, and, I'm glad you got to go out on your own terms.
In the NBA, Ime Udoka is, I don't even know how much I can really say because we don't know too much about the situation besides he slept with a coworker and it's just all gone to crap. You cheated on Nia Long, so you fumbled Nia Long, which makes you a Hall of Fame level. Shout out to Seth. I texted it to him. Hall of Fame level bad fumbler. So I don't even know where to go from where that. Robert Williams it's just pain for the Celtics. I don't know. We'll talk about more about the Ime Udoka situation as we find out more, but that just looks very, very messy. He's suspended for the season. They didn't fire him, so I have no idea, but it's a bad situation. It is a bad situation in Boston. And to finish off, here in Charlotte, we had the President's Cup. Team USA gets the dub yet again. Jordan Spieth with the sweep. I think he won all five of his matches, 4 of them with Justin Thomas, his bestest friend. And yeah, Jay Spieth comes through. Team USA wins yet again in the President's Cup. Fantastic from the boys. You love to see it. And I know a lot of people that went to that event, of course, because it was here in the 704. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that is all for episode 112. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, whole lot of football, and we'll see what happens next week. Might be some more milestones to talk about. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Ocho, signing off.